Introduction. Leadership is not about the title on your door. Educating for Values-Driven Leadership reveals what it is about. We will focus on what it says about values and business. Stay with me, the best part is near the end. Overall summary. Keywords: leadership, values, ethics, business ethics, giving voice to values, pedagogy, curriculum, management education, business education. For business students and practitioners, ethics education's emphasis on action constraints is not appealing. How can we build our business based on values? Within business schools, an entire course may be dedicated to sustainable business, or sustainability may be integrated within other courses, such as business ethics, business and society, supply chain, marketing, organizational behavior, and change management. Providing this change context expands how students think of voicing their values. Chapter 1: Values and Business. Educating for Values-Driven Leadership, Giving Voice to Values Across the Curriculum. Mary C. Gentile. Giving Voice to Values in the Economics Classroom. Daniel G. Arce. Teaching Change Leadership for Sustainable Business, Strategies from the Giving Voice to Values Curriculum. Christopher P. Adkins. Giving Voice to Values in Accounting Education. Stephen M. McConesweet. Voicing Values in Marketing Education, Indian Perspective. Subhasis Ray. Giving Voice to Values and Ethics Across the Curriculum at the United States Air Force Academy. Claudia J. Levy. Giving Voice to Values Across the Curriculum. Traditional approaches to education for values-driven leadership in management education have lacked an emphasis on actual rehearsal, the preparation for action that builds confidence and competence. Giving Voice to Values is an innovative pedagogy and curriculum that addresses this gap. Its focus is on literal prescripting and action planning, and it was developed to directly address the challenges faced by educators in the core business functions when they consider ways to integrate discussions of values into their curriculum. Leadership, values, ethics, business ethics, giving voice to values, pedagogy, curriculum, management education, business education. Origins and rationale behind the Giving Voice to Values approach. Increasingly values-driven leadership. The aspiration, the competency, and the commitment has become an explicit objective for business educators and business practitioners alike. Business and educational thoughts leaders from Jim Collins to Lynn Sharp Payne have made this point, and the emphasis on leadership curriculum in management education is a reflection of this shift. Ethics education in business schools, however, although also receiving an increasing amount of attention, often not so positive from the management education accrediting bodies, from the business press and, accordingly, from business school deans, has not always reflected the power of this aspiration and competency-based orientation. In fact, business ethics education has too often remained the realm of thou shalt not, than appealing to a sense of purpose and building a skill-based confidence and moral competence. Accordingly, to make education for ethics and values compelling and useful for this audience, it becomes important to link it to action, effective, impactful action. Instead of focusing on what we cannot do, it becomes important to ask and answer the questions: how can we act on our values? GVV identifies the many ways that individuals can and do voice their values in the workplace and provides opportunities to build the muscles necessary to do so. It is that they are not sufficient, and in many ways, the emphasis on action as outlined in the GVV pedagogy is a better fit with the other, non-ethics courses across the business curriculum. The cases are brief and therefore easy for faculty across the curriculum to fit them into their syllabi and to assign them as group exercises for students. In this way, the students work individually and in teams to investigate, research, craft, and present the best and most feasible literal script and action plan for enacting the protagonist's values-based position. And while the GVV curriculum and pedagogy were created as a response to the insight that education for action is a critical part of values-driven leadership development, It was also designed with an eye to the specific concerns that faculty often hold business ethics education. The integration of values and ethics education across the business curriculum has long been a holy grail for those who endeavor to promote this sort of leadership development. However, although we have yet to meet a professor of finance or accounting or operations management who did not want his or her students to become responsible and ethical managers, these same faculty members often have several strong objections to the integration of explicit discussions of ethics and values into their courses. They don't want to appear to be preaching to their students, and they don't want to seem naive. Chapter 2: Curriculum and Students. First of all, the curriculum is post-decision making, as Carolyn Wu, former business school dean at University of Notre Dame, observed. In this way, faculty do not need to be in the position to be arguing with students about whether they should or whether they can act on their values in the workplace. Additionally, GVV curriculum is designed flexibly so that it can be adopted easily by the individual faculty member in an accounting or a marketing course who wants to find a way to do so, or, alternatively, it can be orchestrated across the entire curriculum at those schools where faculty and deans have decided to take a more systematic approach to the integration of values and ethics. The annotated table of contents for the curriculum identifies the materials that can work in each of the various business courses, whether that may be economics or organizational behavior. An essay describing all of these approaches, how business schools and faculty can use the Giving Voice to Values curriculum, is available on the curriculum website, and individualized guidance is available from the program director. GVV was developed with the twin objectives of creating an effective approach to building the capacity for values-driven action in business students and practitioners, and also of structuring the curriculum in a way that would be useful and appealing to faculty across the curriculum. To effectively counter these arguments, and to not feel naive while doing so, students need to spend the time that the GVV scripting and action planning requires of them. Rather, all the students are on the same side, working together to try to come up with the most effective and feasible approach. So GVV focuses on those issues, the so-called clear-cut issues, and asks, how could we act on our values in those situations? Giving voice to values has spread rapidly across the globe, with hundreds of pilots reaching thousands of students and business practitioners on all 7 continents. Increasingly, major corporations are applying this approach to their own internal ethics, values, and leadership programming as well. The chapter concludes with a discussion on how to facilitate the use of GVV with economics students who may be initially circumspect about the integration of ethics within an economics course. Any price below the market clearing price will create a shortage. Second, in practice, the prices of necessary goods usually do not increase in the aftermath of a natural disaster. Some broad guidelines for introducing business ethics into economics and financial economics classrooms are provided by Aragon, 2011, Arce, 2004, 2011, Erickson, 2005, Northrop, 2000, and Welch, 2006. To address concerns about economic education and ethical awareness, students could also be given opportunities to see and discuss scenarios such as Question 3 so that the stakes between economic and ethical perspectives are normalized. This is where Giving Voice to Values, Gentile, 2010, comes in. GVV is a freely available curriculum of cases and scripts that allow students to articulate ethical arguments in familiar economics and business situations. Hence, as GVV falls naturally within the curriculum, it economizes on the scarcity of classroom time. My usual practice is to cover one case during class so that students get the gist of the approach and assign 3 to 4 cases throughout the semester as group projects. In so doing, I illustrate the general applicability of GVV to economic decision-making by examining the potential ethical component of a common business issue, whether or not to raise prices. This chapter illustrates the utility of including GVV cases within the economics curriculum and provides a guideline for doing so. In an actual GVV classroom exercise, or group assignment, students are required to generate these arguments and decision reframings themselves. Chapter 3: Prices and Students. As the vast majority of students, no matter whether they are undergraduates or executive MBAs, initially see the three questions as being equivalent, students become chagrined when I point out that a decision to raise prices during a natural disaster has ethical implications that they may have overlooked. He also has the latitude to change prices, if costs have dramatically changed. Although it is not mandatory, it is recommended to check with HQ if considering a price change. Reggie is resolute that the prices should not change and should retain their pre-disaster values. With this in mind, I ask students to form groups of 3 to 5 members and answer the following discussion questions in the broader context of not raising prices on necessary goods in the immediate aftermath of a natural disaster. It is often helpful to identify all stakeholders to fully understand the ethical dimensions of a decision. This case is tailor-made for the economics classroom because many of the arguments here are familiar to students. For example, arguments to raise prices often echo economic arguments that criticize price gouging laws. Not changing prices would prevent the remedy of shortages through the price as rationing mechanism. For example, costs and workloads are higher, so it is reasonable to increase prices. The firm is raising prices to cover costs, not to increase profits. Non-economic arguments can also be made on behalf of a price increase. Students often come up with a perspective that is consistent with the principle of proportionality. One must balance the potential harm done to the firm of not increasing prices with the harms caused by raising prices. This is true with disaster-related price increases. It is this question that allows students to exercise their ethics muscle and normalize the stakes with respect to anticipated arguments in the previous subsection. At the same time, students may be surprised to find that a large economics literature exists that supports the holding, or lowering, of prices of necessary goods in the aftermath of a natural disaster. 5 As not raising prices is the observed norm. This is why people are so outraged when prices are raised substantially and such instances become widely known. That is, raising prices may be the first step toward a breakdown in prosocial behavior, and not raising prices has a measurable marginal value in this instance. Within this context, one can also consider the impact of a price increase on future revenues. The opportunity costs of not raising prices include foregoing short-term profits, but what are the opportunity costs of raising prices? Solidarity is another reason for not increasing prices. At the time that students turn in the GVV assignment, I usually ask them to bring 2 copies, one to turn in and the other to discuss. Once the problem sets are turned in, I discuss any questions the students may have, and then we turn to the GVV case. In addition, I point out that the former president of the National Association of Business Economists, NABE, Roy E. Chapter 4: Sustainability and Business. It employs cases that are rooted within economics/business as its point of departure and broadens the perspective by asking students to address 3 concerns. A. What is at stake for the key parties, including those with whom one disagrees? The particular strength of this case is that economic arguments exist that are for and against raising prices, and students can easily place themselves within the situation to make ethical arguments without the need for introducing any formal theories of normative decision-making. Teaching change leadership for sustainable business strategies from the Giving Voice to Values curriculum. The shift to sustainable business practices is a change process, requiring individuals who can help reshape both the strategy and the daily decision-making of the organization. Specific themes include integrating GVV within a variety of course designs and theoretical frameworks, leading sustainable change by aligning individual and organizational values, fostering a sense of self-efficacy based on past experience and peer coaching, and practical strategies for change agency that address common sustainability challenges. Sustainability, sustainable business, leadership, change management, shared value, self-efficacy, decision-making, curricular integration, peer coaching. His research and teaching integrate insights from cognitive neuroscience, behavioral economics, and social psychology to enhance business decision-making in the areas of ethics, sustainability, and social entrepreneurship. With sustainability consulting firm Saatchi S., Chris led the first personal sustainability program at a university. He is the co-founder of the Corporate and College Collaborative for Sustainability, a partnership of business leaders, faculty, and students for innovation in sustainability education. From teaching change leadership for sustainable business, strategies from the Giving Voice to Values curriculum and discussing the importance of sustainability for business organizations, the conversation ultimately must address the question of value. How will sustainability create value for the business, for shareholders, and for stakeholders? In short, the shift to sustainable business is a change process, requiring individuals who can reshape both the strategy and the daily decision-making of the organization. Point 2 Approaches to sustainability education may fall short if they do not include the strategies and skills that prepare leaders to address the obstacles likely to arise in integrating sustainability in a business organization. The Giving Voice to Values (GVV) program offers an action-based curriculum where students develop the strategies and scripts for sustainability leadership. In this chapter, I discuss the advantages and applications of using GVV in teaching sustainability in business contexts. Second, GVV addresses the ambiguity surrounding sustainability by identifying shared values across the organization and individuals. Fourth, GVV provides practical strategies for change agency that address common sustainability challenges. Advantages of the GVV approach in teaching sustainability leadership. VV complements a variety of course designs and theoretical frameworks. Faculty teaching sustainability in business may come from diverse disciplines, utilize different frameworks, and teach within various course designs. For example, a course on sustainable business may utilize a mix of cases, pulled from the GVV curriculum and from other sources. Thus, faculty can use the sustainability framework that best fits with their discipline, industry context, and course design, then utilize GVV to emphasize how the values of that particular framework can be practiced in leading change within the case scenarios and organizational contexts. The strategies for leading change for sustainability can be transferred to leading change in other contexts as well. For example, the importance of engaging allies, focusing on small steps of change, seeking win opportunities, and finding shared values that are consistent with the organization's mission are effective strategies for leading change for sustainability and other change initiatives. GVV uses the language of shared values as opposed to the language of sustainability. In teaching sustainability, one begins with several challenges. First, the term sustainability is ambiguous, evoking a mix of concepts and values to different people. One might be tempted to address these challenges directly, either by explicitly clarifying the concept of sustainability or by building the business case for sustainability. Such a mental schema may not intuitively include the ideas of economic sustainability or social sustainability. Chapter 5: Values and Students. This is the strategy used by sustainability business thinker and entrepreneur Amory Lovins. Instead, Lovins embraces the language of his audience and reframes the conversation around a shared business value, the productive use of and reinvestment of capital, with the ultimate goal of strategic competitive advantage for the business. Lovins' approach is consistent with how Gentile speaks of values. 7. To illustrate the idea of focusing on shared values, I have my students read Gentile's chapter on Values 8 in conjunction with Porter and Kramer's article Creating Shared Value. Applying these ideas to sustainable business shifts the focus from definitions and frameworks to identifying shared goals for both individuals and the organization. In essence, one aligns sustainability with the strategy of the organization and with the values of the individuals working within the organization. Faculty can point to success stories of other leaders who have changed organizations. GVV suggests that students begin by examining their past experiences and leading from their values. This approach is rooted in the second assumption of GVV: I have voiced my values at some points in my past. Describe a time when you missed an opportunity to voice your values and lead change within your organization. If working with a group of managers experienced in sustainability, one can be more specific. Describe a time in your career when you voiced your values and effectively led change within your organization in the areas of sustainability or social impact. Students often are surprised to discover they have influenced change in their past. They see their own personal style in voicing their values, and the situations where this style is more and less effective. Faculty can reference these lessons throughout the course, reminding students of their own experiences in voicing values. Within the context of sustainability, this exercise also enhances the competence necessary for change agency. In my teaching, I explicitly refer to Bandura's concept of self-efficacy. Point 13. As students revisit their past experiences in voicing their values, they develop a sense of self-efficacy to counteract the limited power one feels within organizations. 16. Hearing the change stories of fellow students is only one way GVV incorporates modeling. Gentile also offers guidelines for peer coaching. 17. Where students can offer critical feedback on the proposed scripts for voicing one's values. GVV provides a pragmatic framework of stakeholder analysis and action planning in preparation for the common obstacles to sustainable practices in organizations. Increasing self-efficacy is an important first step, yet further mastery and modeling are needed to lead change for sustainability. Rather, students find themselves in the middle of a change scenario, one where there are both immediate opportunities for impact and the need for systemic change in both an organization and an industry. When faculty bring the GVV approach to their courses, students focus on what they are going to say in the immediate situation, to the individual or individuals right in front of them. This week, we want to practice voicing our values to foster real and sustainable change. We also revisit the enablers 20 Gentile offers in her text, and focus on those strategies suited for sustainability change, playing to one's strengths. Students often overlook the credibility Felipe has in this scenario. Closing. That is the heart of educating for values-driven leadership. If it helped, a quick subscribe keeps more summaries coming. So how do values and business connect? That is exactly where we started. Go back to the top and watch it click into place.